morning, everyone, or good afternoon. Today, I would like to talk to you about Sara Baartman. But before I give you background information about Sara Baartman's life, I would like to ask you all a question. How many of you like music videos? Well, at one point in my life, I liked music videos too. I remember being a little girl rushing home to watch 106 in Park to watch all of the latest music videos that were out. But just because I watched music videos doesn't mean I was necessarily allowed to. My mom did not want me watching them because they were too raunchy and inappropriate for someone that was my age. I did not understand what my mom meant about being raunchy or inappropriate, but as I got older, I realized the message that my mom was trying to deliver to me at such a young age. This brings me to my topic about Sara Baartman. Sara Baartman was a Kauai woman who was born in 1789 at Bantu's River. According to SahaHistory.org, she lived on a farm with her family where both her mother and father were servants on the farm. Unfortunately, at the tender age of 2, both Sara Baartman's mother and father passed away. Fast forward to her teenage years, Sara Baartman married a Kauai man who was a drummer. The two conceived one child together, but unfortunately, the child died. Right after birth, according to Justin Parkinson. As you can see, Sara Baartman's life did not start off well. Rachel Holmes explains Sara Baartman's life in her book African Queen, The Real Life of the Hottentot Venus, and how her homeland came into conflict with the Dutch. Sara Baartman was sold into slavery to a man named Peter William. During this time period, she was taken to Cape Town, where she became a domestic servant to Peter William's brother. There are speculations that Sara Baartman signed a contract with an English ship surgeon named William Dunlap, in which the terms stated that she would travel with Hendrik Caesar and Dunlap to England and Ireland in order to be a domestic servant and also for entertainment purposes. In return, Sara Baartman was told that she would receive portions of her earnings from the shows that she did, and she will also be able to return to South Africa, which is her homeland, in 5 years, which did not happen. Sara Baartman's shapely body and her skin color became a fetish and a fascination by the colonial Europeans, who thought they were racially superior. Sara Baartman was displayed in a cage so Englishmen and English women could pay to see her half-naked body. More years passed and Sara Baartman was still being displayed as if she was a freak, according to www.South Africa. Sara Baartman was once again sold in September 1814. Hendrik Caesar sold her to Ronks. He was a man who showcased animals. While she was with him, she was forced to do tricks while she was naked, as if she was a circus animal. Being that many people had seen and heard of Sara Baartman, she attracted the attention of George Carver, a naturalist. He asked Ronks if he could do a scientific. He asked Ronks if he could study Sara Baartman. As if she was a circus animal. Being that many people had seen and heard of Sara Baartman, she attracted the attention of George Carver. She attracted the attention of George Carver, a naturalist. He got into contact with Ronks and asked if he could study Sara Baartman as a science specimen, which he agreed. Sara was studied by French anatomists, zoologists, and psychologists. I know what you are thinking. Why would the zoologist be studying the human? Well, it's because George Carver concluded that Sara Baartman was a cross between an animal and a human because of her features. The study of Sara Baartman was used to show the stereotype that African Americans were a lesser race compared to Europeans. According to Buzz South Africa, Sara Baartman became less popular and the Europeans grew tired of her. So she resorted to prostitution to support herself. Sara Baartman was never paid for the shows that she did while in France or Ireland or any of the other states and countries that she was showcased. A year later, Sara Baartman died of an inflammatory disease at the young age of 25. Syphilis was a huge epidemic, so there has been speculations that syphilis may have been the cause. At this point, you're probably thinking, finally she can be laid to rest. Finally she can be at peace after having such a tragic life. Wrong. George Cover obtained her remains from local police and dissected her body. He made a plaster coat of her body, pickled her brain, and pickled her genitals, and placed them into jars, which were placed on display at the Museum of Man. Until 1974. 160 years later, they were still on display, but finally the president of South Africa, which was Nelson Mandela, requested that the French government return the remains of Sara Baartman so she could finally be laid to rest. It took 8 years, but in March 2002, Sara Baartman was brought back home to South Africa, where she was buried at Hanks in the Eastern Cape Providence. Now back to my intro. Music videos today showcase women as if they are just pieces of meat, which is what Sara Baartman went through. But she did not have a choice. As an African American woman, I know I am not just a body. I am more. I am intelligent, I am caring, I am loving, I am funny, and most of all, I love myself. I love myself enough to show my body respect. Sara Baartman endured pain that I can't even imagine. So as young women, it is up to us to show the world that we are more than our bodies.